Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. I'm Greg Burke, and now in my 24th year as Director of Athletics at Northwestern State University. Creating an environment in which student athletes and young professionals can develop skill sets to make them successful in any walk of life is invaluable. Mentors can provide an extra measure of confidence by helping them grow, by seeking their input, and by listening to their ideas. This and much more can be found in Will Baggett and Ty Brown's book, The Blueprint for a Successful Career, a foundation for developing young professionals. Find it on Amazon.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at OneQ Leadership. Our guest today is Dr. Brandon Martin. Dr. Martin is the Director of Athletics at University of Missouri, Kansas City. Greetings, Brandon. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, Brandon, your title, I just said Director of Athletics for the quick intro, but in reality, you're Executive in Residence for the School of Education, Executive in Residence for the School of Business, and also the Director of Athletics for Kansas City Athletics. I'm happy to have you on here. We talked, I don't know, it may have been a year and a half ago when I had you on the podcast, so I'm glad you're back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Now, Brandon, my first question to you is about the rest of your title and responsibility there at University of Missouri, Kansas City, Executive in Residence for the School of Education and Executive in Residence for the School of Business. Tell us a little bit about what those entail in addition to your responsibilities as Director of Athletics.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good question, Ty. I consider myself a higher education administrator, okay, first and foremost. So the executive in residence in the School of Education allows me to not only teach courses within intercollegiate athletics administration, but allows me to have a partnership with the dean of the School of Ed to talk about how to fundraise for the School of Education, how to market and promote the School of Education. It brings me closer to faculty peers. And it's been nothing short of just refreshing to do within the last year. The executive in residence in the School of Business is an opportunity for me to do something similar, but to fill a void in Kansas City. When you think about Kansas City, is such a passionate sports town, and there's no sports leadership representation here. And as we try and elevate Kansas City athletics, and we align ourselves with the Kansas City Sports Commission, and we align ourselves with, some of the other sports leaders within the city, I thought it was paramount that that conversation about a cohort of sports professionals within the city to be able to get educated and find the education and the practical, more importantly, the practical information on what makes them better. What can get them into the chair of being an AD? What can get them into the seat of being that CEO of Sporting KC or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Royals? And there's no better place to do that than the Block School of Business. And so I felt that these two appointments really have allowed me as the athletics director to have credibility on campus with the faculty. It's allowed me to have different conversations with my chancellor. It's allowed me to have different conversations with donors, and it's enabled me to elevate my position and do my job more effectively.
Now, you're almost, 20 years in college athletics, veteran, experienced. And of course, now we are in a situation, what I like to call the pandemic chapter of recent American history, or recent world history, actually. And so we're all working virtual and we're all trying to figure out how to keep things moving at a high level. And what you've done there at Kansas City Athletics is create a platform for your coaches to learn from each other, your head coaches, I guess.
Yes.
Can you expound on, I guess it's called the Rise Alliance. Can you tell us what that entails and expound on what it is and what it serves for your coaches?
Sure, absolutely. So the Rise Alliance stands for Ruse Inspiring Success and Excellence. And essentially what it is, Ty, is a community of excellence for my head coaches during this season of discovery. I stay away from the pandemic. This is a season of discovery, where it's designed for self-improvement, leadership development, collaboration. We can touch on topics like recruiting strategies, creating a positive culture within your team. We can talk about the hot topics within the NC2A, like name, image, likeness. We can touch on roster management, and more importantly, talk about team budgets, which all athletic directors right now, we're faced with really just trying to fill that financial gap that has been placed upon us right now. So this is designed for synergy. It's designed to cater to a group of coaches who were programmed and conditioned to compete. And right now, they really don't have that opportunity. And so I'm filling that void for them.
Right. So educate me here now. I assume you already have head coaches meetings, but those are usually all business, right? And so this is beyond just all business.
This is beyond all business. And if you've attended a coaches meeting, typically it's an opportunity for coaches to complain about what's not right about the athletics department. Okay. So, but this is designed to talk about academic success, to talk about team efficiency, to talk about team culture, and it also gives me an opportunity to coach, right? So now we're in this season of discovery. How can me as the AD coach to coach and provide them opportunities to build collaboration, synergy, and actually spark some unconventional thinking during this challenging season.
Right, which is important. How is this structured, delivered? How do you choose the topics? Talk to us a little bit about the logistics of this Rise Alliance.
Yeah, sure. So in order for this to have credibility, it has to be chaired by a head coach. And so the group is chaired by our men's golf coach, J.W. Vandenborn, and he's actually the chair of the group. So myself and JW, we get together, we talk about what topics we want to cover. I lead the group in the first 15, 20 minutes, and then I hand it over to JW. And from there, there's discussions about the range of topics that I described earlier. And I thought it was critically important to have a closed session for the coaches where I'm not on the call. I think that builds trust. I think it also allows some type of cross-coach connection and learning that is vital during this period that ordinarily wouldn't happen, Ty. I mean, if this pandemic wouldn't have occurred, the soccer coach maybe wouldn't learn from the men's basketball coach. The softball coach maybe wouldn't learn from the women's basketball coach. So I think this is a season of discovery, opportunity, elevation, and it gets us outside of our paradigm paralysis of doing business the same way. Now we're away from the brick and mortar. Now we're on Zoom, we're on FaceTime, we're on Microsoft Team Rooms. We're having to think differently about how we define our positions.
It's interesting it's a bit more than just providing programming. It's really the coaches are it's the big part of it. The synergy part of it is that the coaches are learning from each other, right? You may put in some of your 2 cents, well, a bit more than 2 cents, but for the lack of a better word, you may put in some of your 2 cents from the leadership perspective, from the experience perspective, and now the coaches are doing their things amongst each other and how to handle those certain things. Now that chair position, does that rotate, or will like how will you handle that part in terms of the leadership of the group?
Well, I thought it was important for JW to lead the group because he has the most tenure within the department, and I can see it rotating as needed. But right now, there's no better coach within my department to lead this group. And as the topics are discussed and covered, I'll make that the executive call on which coach needs to step up at that time to be
Right.
the chair.
Right. Some of them are better at it than others, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's important. This is interesting. I guess when you talk about recruiting, they're not recruiting the same athletes, so they all want to see Kansas City athletics get better. So definitely, I mean, some of them probably already talk, but definitely in terms of a venue specifically for that, they can talk about, you know, how do they use, how the tactics they use, and what works and what doesn't work, and what's coming down the pike, and those kind of things.
Absolutely. We know that, recruiting in men's basketball is different than men's soccer. But at the core of it, Ty, is competing. At the core of it is trying to get the best talent, uh, trying to get the best fit for the program, trying to get the best ambassador for the department and institution. And so even though there's some differences there, there's still some commonality across all of the sports, where we can have some robust conversations about comprehensive excellence.
Now, here's what I wonder. I'm always talking to leaders about something they're doing and asking the question, okay, now how will you evaluate the success of what you're doing? So I guess that's the next question for you, is this is a new venture. And I assume someone such as yourself, who has been a leader for a long time, has built in evaluation metrics to try to figure out if this is a good thing or not. Tell me about the evaluation process.
Sure. Well, within the RISE group, there's three primary goals that I want to achieve, and I want to talk about that. One is I want to enhance communication, and I think it was Simon Sinek that talked about great leaders communicate and great communicators lead. And so, within that, I want to peel the onion back with my coaches and get beyond the sport administrator. So many times, ADs, we delegate to the sport administrator, and we really don't have those touch points with the coaches that we should. And so I want to enhance communication within this RISE group. Secondly, I want to ensure alignment and clarify expectations. This is a time for me to be a partner, a mentor, and a trusted advisor, not so much the authoritative figure as the boss. To talk about the goals of the team and make sure that I'm in alignment with the head coaches on what it is we're trying to get done. And so that's critically important in this time, because how athletic directors evaluate coaches now is totally different in this pandemic time. I mean, right now we have to really have a different set of standards, a different set of expectations, but we also have to really have a heightened level of trust in this time. And that leads me to the third point, which is I want to advance the speed of trust. And I think it was Stephen Covey that wrote the book Speed of Trust back in 2006. And I want to advance those conversations around contracts, around NC2A legislation, around issues related to student athletes, around communications with donors. All those things I want to make that happen faster. And if we can really center ourselves around those goals, then I think we would reach more of the macro goals that we have within our department.
Brandon, those three goals are very important. You talk about enhanced communication, ensure alignment and clarify expectation, and advance the speed of trust. I wonder about the future of this, the RISE Alliance.
Well, Tai, I think it's critically important to master the program within my department first with my head coaches. And I think there's going to be some common themes that emerge within the group. But when we talk about the industry in general, I would love to have coaches within the Summit League. We're going to join the Summit League in our next competitive season. I would love for the coaches in the Summit League to join and to have some positive discourse about these topics. And I think that will foster unity, collaboration, build synergy, and not only make my coaches better, but it'll make the coaches within the Summit League better. And I think that's the second step. And from there, we can take this national. We can take this national because every athletics director wants their coaches to be on the cutting edge. And we understand that everybody wants to compete, and maybe I don't want to share information with this coach over here because I want this edge. And I understand that. I do. But under the guise of competition, under the guise of excellence, under the guise of leadership, I think this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. Tai, there's been so much legislation passed recently that talks about that caters to student athlete welfare and well-being. And this RISE Alliance is about, well, what about the coaches? Where's their support system? How can I help them with the dynamics of academic success and player behavior and the team culture and really be that partner and that mentor and that advisor during this period. And so that's why I think this is such a viable concept and idea.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I guess you'll have to be, in terms of selecting topics that all coaches will want to talk about with everyone else, we'll have to take some thought into it. And then, obviously getting the rest of the conference and the ADs on board, I think it could be something great there in terms of keeping coaches educated in terms of professional, personal, and leadership development.
Yeah, Tai, to your point, I think the important thing is it has to be organic to some degree, and it has to be fluid. So if there's a topic, like recruiting that goes on for 4 weeks, then we got to keep it going for 4 weeks. We can't change the team culture after that. We have to make sure that the coaches are vested on each call, and that it's not just, oh, okay, well, this is something Dr. Martin wants me to do, but they have some they have some equity into it.
This is something that obviously will be great for Kansas City athletics, but if Summit League and other coaches buy into it, other athletic directors and the commissioner, definitely something for our coaches who are some of the best leaders in our country, right? People who coach young people. Brandon, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
That was Dr. Brandon Martin. He's the Director of Athletics for University of Missouri, Kansas City. He's also executive in residence for the School of Education and executive residence for the School of Business there while he leads Kansas City athletics. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.